in, as is standard operating procedure, into a room and being informed and being guided on what next steps. You can imagine how horrifying that must be. And you look at the actual scenario of what happened. We've been going over this with our experts here, and I want to bring back in. And first of all, I want to read this statement because the president was advised about this. He just issued a statement. Donald Trump says the following: I have been fully briefed on the terrible accident which just took place at Reagan National Airport. May God bless their souls. Thank you for the incredible work being done by our first responders. I am monitoring the situation and will provide more details as they arise. And it's also interesting because we got word of this. We got confirmation of this, not from the FAA, not from the NTSB. We got confirmation earlier from Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, who went on Sean Hannity. And I'm not sure, do we have that soundbite? We can play this in a smaller window so we can still see the screen.
So anyway, just wanted to kind of give that cold opening right there. I was live, playing video games when all of this happened. So I'm just learning all of these details right now, a lot of this information. And so this is absolutely horrific, and I don't know anything right now other than what we're watching right now.
At DCA Airport right here in Washington, D.C. That's all I can confirm at this point in time. And I can just say that the thoughts and the prayers of the entire Trump administration are with all those that are involved. And we ask the public in this area to please stand by for guidance from law enforcement and allow them to do their jobs as they attempt to save lives right now.
Yeah, Caroline Leavitt kind of giving the news to Sean Hannity, and she was, for the most part, spot on. It's interesting because we have gotten a great deal of information from the White House. We've also gotten a lot of information released from the NTSB and the FAA, who are in the process of investigating this. The NTSB, of course, will.
So we just got dash cam footage that I just saw right here. So here's dash cam footage captures the moment a military helicopter collides with an American Airlines jet, triggering a mass casualty event with multiple reports of multiple fatalities.
Is it? It's blue. It's blue.
Oh,
What happened?
oh my God.
Oh my God.
Is it?
It's blue. It's blue.
That is wild. That is wild. So, we're just learning. Again, I'm learning all of this like in real time. So I've got the Fox News feed live right now. This is their live feed right now.
Ken, if you look at this where you have Joint Base Bowling on the opposite side of Reagan National Airport, and you talk about the tower would have both the helicopter, the Black Hawk helicopter, as well as the jet in their purview. And we wonder, would they also be speaking to the military, or would the helicopter be?
So right here we have mid-air collision. Here's the latest. Black Hawk military helicopter struck a commercial jet. 64 people on board the American airline flight. 3 soldiers on the Black Hawk. Multiple people pulled from the, I don't know how to say that, river. And conditions of any survivors unknown. President Trump has been briefed. So that's what we know right there. So this is awful. Potomac, there it is. Oh, shit. I don't have this. My bad. I thought I had this shared.
Being on an instrument flight plan and on approach, and that helicopter would have provide its own separation from the aircraft. So the typical tower communication would be talking to the helicopter and pointing out where the traffic is to give the helicopter a heads up, and they have to acquire it visually. But because of the close proximity on where they hit, just timing what it is, the aircraft was actually right over the helicopter probably, and they couldn't see it. And so they continued their flight path looking, they were probably looking for the helicopter, but it was directly overhead. So if you look straight up overhead, you have your instrument panel, you can't look through your instrument panel through the rotor system to see the aircraft right on top of you. So it was just a horrible misfortune here.
Yeah. You talk about IFR and VFR. You're talking.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know a lot about the aviation side of things. Personally, like I said many times, I don't fly if I can help it. I'm not a fan of flying. I'm not a fan of being on an aircraft because I'm a control freak, and it freaks me out to be in that position. Statistically speaking, it is an extremely safe way to fly or to travel. So I want to put that out there. I know that. So I know there's a ton of people that travel every single day. Thousands and thousands and thousands of flights go out every day. We rarely ever have any tragedies. So, just want to make sure I'm clarifying all of that. But this doesn't seem like just an accident. This does not seem like, this just seems weird to me. The military Black Hawk that crashed into American Airlines flight in Washington, D.C. was reportedly flying dark. The chopper was not broadcasting an ADSB signal at the time. That has just been found submerged in the Potomac River, and first responders say there's likely no victims inside. What does that mean, flying dark? What does that term actually mean? Does it mean so there was no they weren't being tracked? There was no radar. Is that the term that it's being applied? This doesn't make sense to me. Based on the little bit of information that we have right now, it doesn't make sense anyway.
Not look underneath the aircraft or behind the aircraft.
Stealth mode.
Look out their windscreen. And so
no lights.
That helicopter would not have at any time been visible to the American airline flight. And so they just continued their descent, and the helicopter hit underneath the aircraft.
Yeah, which is perfect sense when you go back to the recording where the tower is asking the helicopter, quoting here, Priority Air Transport 25, do you have the CRJ in sight? We talked to John Scott about this. He went back, he listened to the recordings, and
thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
And maybe we just haven't found it yet, Ken, but it appears the warning was just issued to one of the aircraft, to the helicopter. Either they did not have time to issue a warning to the plane, or we just didn't hear it. But it seems like this was moments before the actual crash where they are asking the Black Hawk helicopter, do you see the plane that's above you?
That's correct, Trace. That is a very, very normal standard radio call from the tower to the VFR, the Visual Flight Rule helicopter, and they're pointing out the IFR traffic to them. Do they have visuals? So they're asking them to be
very odd. What's up, X-Wing?
Confirm that helicopter does in fact have the American airline flight in sight. If they do not have it, then it's their responsibility to provide separation, maybe descend altitude. But it was such a short time frame. I imagine the helicopter crew would be actively searching, looking up, left and right, and trying to acquire visually that aircraft that ATC was pointing out. But at that time, the aircraft was so close to them, and it just descended right on top of them.
Yeah. We are getting new information here. We're getting the Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, who's only been on the job for a couple of days, says the Coast Guard is deploying every available
I'm just glad that we have people running this country that actually are handling it right now. Right now, President Trump is awake and he's handling it. Kristi Noem is handling it. We've got people that are actually running the country right now. Instead of right now, what we would have gotten is we would have gotten some type of nonsensical press release, basically like President Biden is aware, he's been briefed, whereas Trump, Trump's actually involved with this right now, handling it right now. So, I mean, this is a horrific situation. There's a lot of stuff being put right here, like right here. Again, I can't verify any of this right now, but right here, I took this video 6 days ago, leaving Reagan International Airport. Thought it was some kind of it was kind of crazy seeing these choppers right next to us. I wonder if it was something like this that caused a collision tonight. That, again, as someone that doesn't fly, that is fucking crazy to have those choppers that close. What? Am I just, do I not know what the fuck I'm talking about? Am I just retarded though? I mean, maybe I am retarded. I am retarded. So That is way close, bro. That is way close. So that's just a video that I saw on Twitter. We're getting right here, DC air traffic control. I just saw a fireball, then it was gone.
The accident happened in Fire Command. The accident happened in the river. Both the helicopter and the plane crashed in the river. It's east of the approach end of runway 33. It was probably out in the middle of the river. I just saw a fireball and then it was just gone. So I haven't seen anything since they hit the river, but it was a CRJ and a helicopter that hit. I would say maybe a half mile off the approach end of 33. Fire Command.
And that is something else, man. That is something else. Holy crap.
The helicopter or this regional jet itself. These helicopters have been flying about 300, 400 feet. As I'm looking down, they have their search lines, and they've been going right up against the actual coastline of the Potomac, kind of going back and forth, sweeping formation for at least the last hour and a half. But we haven't seen any of those helicopters get very low. You're not seeing them at like 50 feet, 100 feet, where they would be dropping people in or trying to get people out. Instead, they've been keeping their distance as they're about 300 to 400 feet up above. And we'll be looking to see, obviously, as more air resources will be coming in, likely more helpful after the sun rises. But the news again that we're seeing is that Reagan Airport is going to be closed overnight tonight. Not really a surprise.
So I just want to play the clip from earlier from the White House.
Breaking news, I have called over to my counterparts at the White House, and I can confirm that President Trump has been made aware of this situation. And tragically, it appears that a military helicopter collided with a regional jet at DCA Airport right here in Washington, D.C. That's all I can confirm at this point in time. And I can just say that the thoughts and the prayers of the entire Trump administration are with all those that are involved. And we ask the public in this area to please stand by for guidance from law enforcement and allow them to do their jobs as they attempt to save lives right now. Breaking news.
So that was earlier. Let's go back to Fox, and I'm keeping my eye on Twitter right now.
A little bit closer to the DC side of things, and then the Reagan Airport itself, where we are. I tell you what, Christian, if it's possible, if we can just kind of show you what's happening as people at this time of night. I mean, we're in the middle of the night here, Trace. As I step out, I just want to show you people have been coming out here just for themselves to witness what's happening. Not only members of the media, but folks out here from the DMV, DC metro area, trying to find out what's going on. Simply looking out here. And it is getting substantially colder right now. It's about 39 degrees, but it feels a lot colder out here. You mentioned the weather a few moments ago, Trace. It was actually the most beautiful day we've had in DC for the month of January. Temperatures have been brutal here for this month, but today a much different story. And as you mentioned, visibility was very good at the time of the crash. Yes, there will be a formal report that will come out that will detail what the weather.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions and not many answers at this point in time. But like I said, the best thing going is obviously it's a tragic situation. The response is insane. The amount of ambulances and workers involved on first responders is absolutely insane. But the silver lining in a horrifically bad situation is that at least we have a real president now, and we can get to the bottom of this. And we actually, I feel confident about that. Whereas if this would have happened, a few months ago, I would feel bad knowing that we weren't going to get any answers and there would be no clarity whatsoever. But now at least we know there's some transparency involved. The first thing, and again, I don't want to get on my DEI soapbox here, but the first thing that comes to mind when I hear things like this is DEI incompetence. While I know that Trump has signed a bunch of executive orders and a lot of that's been dealt with, it still doesn't mean that the problem has been completely solved in just a few days. And that's always going to be my first reaction based on what we've been going through for the last 4+ years. You've got a lot of people that are not qualified for positions. And just to be clear, there's no job, period, that should be a DEI job. It doesn't matter if it's the lowest level job at a fucking fast food restaurant or if it's the highest level. No job should be based on DEI. No job should be based on inclusion. Fuck your inclusion, okay? No job, period. No matter how shitty, no matter how crappy, no matter how low level it is, no job should be, relegated to DEI. None, period. Because, again, it's just like anything else. Once you draw that line in the sand to social justice, they will just keep asking for more. So if you go, oh, we're only going to give you DEI hires at low-level positions, that's just the beginning. Because social justice, all it cares about is getting its foot in the door. Once the foot is in the door, the disease is there, and then it'll start spreading. No DEI at all, period, end of discussion. Dougie B for 50 says prayers to all of the families and loved ones affected. Yeah, I hope that this doesn't deter anyone, from traveling. I know that obviously we've got a lot of people who's gonna be traveling to Orlando next week. So I hope that this doesn't deter anyone. Although as much as I say that, I'm the one sitting here saying I never get on planes, but that's been a stance of mine for a long time. Thank you, Dougie B. I appreciate it. This seems to be a freak accident, or not a freak accident. I don't want to say a freak accident because I'm not convinced that this is an accident. It's a freak situation, though. Definitely a freak situation. But yeah, of course, Soul of Grim. Thank you, I appreciate it. Well, it's really it's Smokey One Kenobi. It's his fault. He sent a super chat during the gaming stream. And he basically threatened me and pressured me. And he said, if you don't go live, I'm never going to send you another super chat. And I was like, well, clearly I'm going to go live now. Jeremy the Cyborg says, big question. Who was the VIP in the chopper? Was there a VIP in the chopper? Has that been confirmed or has that been speculated upon?
Landings and that all flights were being diverted. We obviously landed then at Baltimore and we waited on the tarmac for quite some time because the pilot told us there were several other aircraft that had landed before us there that had also been diverted. So waited on the tarmac for a little over an hour. They got us a gate, and I'm actually now just on my way back to DC now. So honestly, a minor inconvenience, all things considered, of what the tragic scene is we're seeing out of Reagan tonight.
Yeah, and when you got on the ground, Kelly, did anybody know? Was anybody looking at their phones? Was there a bit of activity about what had happened at DCA? Yeah,
People started immediately looking, calling family. People were texting. I got to know the two women sitting next to me. They were wondering what was going on, but everybody stayed really calm. You really didn't sense, nobody was really frustrated about being delayed or diverted in any way because I think it's just so sad to hear what had happened and people were still getting a lot of information. But yeah, they didn't really, there was no cause for panic or anything like that. Everybody was really calm and nobody was upset that we had been diverted.
Yeah. Kelly Ferris, thank you for the information. We appreciate it. We'll get back to you if you get more information. We appreciate that. I want to bring back in John Scott, the host of the Fox Report. He is also a licensed pilot. He's been covering aviation.
Ben Giles says, I live near D.C. and military Marine One helicopters fly on the east side of the Potomac. Often you can stand on, Gravely Point and see them, but I've never seen one cross the Potomac across landing path.
Was actually taking off from runway 1. That's the primary takeoff runway at DCA, and it's the longest one. It's about almost 7,200 feet long. The inbound American flight was planning to land on runway 33, which is 40 degrees separate from runway 1. So they're headed in the same general direction, but at about a 40-degree angle of difference. And I spoke to a good friend who has, was a Top Gun pilot, was an airline pilot for years. And he said he can just about guarantee that the chopper crew was looking at the wrong aircraft, that they were, the tower was asking them if they had the regional jet in sight. Well, we know there was a regional jet taking off from runway 1, or a jet taking off. You can't always distinguish a regional jet, especially at night. So they may have been looking at the wrong aircraft and thought they were behind, which is what the tower was instructing them to do, to fly behind the regional jet. They may have thought that that's what they were doing.
Yeah. And just for clarity, John, you talk about, 3-3, and we talk about the different numbers of the run. They're just basically compass points, and they're basically telling you what direction they're flying. So,
Right.
3-3 would be 330 degrees. Yeah. Go
Right.
ahead, John.
That would be taking off on a heading of roughly 330 degrees, a little bit left of north.
Mm-hmm.
And runway 1 is 10 degrees, so just a little bit right of north.
And I'm wondering because, Jennifer Griffin and others have been telling us that that this Bowling Air Base that, is right across the river from DCA. So clearly these helicopters take off. This has got to be fairly routine.
I see a few people joining the chat asking what happened. So right now, we have had a mid-air collision in DC with a Black Hawk military helicopter and a American Airlines commercial jet. 64 people were on board the American Airlines flight. 3 soldiers were on the Black Hawk. Multiple people have been pulled from the Potomac River. Conditions of any survivors is unknown. President Trump has been briefed. President Trump has released a statement. It's basically, I don't know if it's been confirmed, but I think it's been confirmed that there's upwards of over 60 deaths right now. But that's just what we've heard. There is some video footage of what happened with the collision, and it's very strange. The whole thing doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right at all. I mean, somebody in the chat can probably tell me, but I mean, how many tens of thousands of flights are happening every single day in the United States of America? It's an ungodly amount of flights. And I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen, Breaking Bad, but remember the Breaking Bad episode? Like, did something like that, did a freak accident like that happen? That's the first thing I'm thinking is like, this sounds like the Breaking Bad episode where the planes collided. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I mean, obviously this is 2 planes. This is a Black Hawk, which even makes it crazier that you got a Black Hawk helicopter involved. Let's see, not the first in-air collision. When is the last time we had an in-air collision in the United States of America? That's that, and because it's been a long time since we've had a plane crash, a major airliner plane crash with fatalities, I think, anyway.
Yes, absolutely. The systems that I was talking about earlier, ADSB and TCAP.
Let's see, 2009? 2009? Is that the last time we had an in-air collision? Yeah, I mean, it's very rare. It's very rare.
Which way they're headed, what their altitude is in comparison with mine. The systems that have been developed in the last 20 years or so are spectacular and have really enhanced safety. That's why this collision is so upsetting and such an aberration, because it just seems like both pilots should have been able to.
I'll show you the video of the collision. At least this is the video I have. I don't know if there's other ones out there, but here we go right here. So if you see, right, I think that's the Black Hawk helicopter. I think. That is fucking wild. That is, I want to slow that down. Here we go. Let's slow this down a little bit here. Playback speed. Let's go to 0.5. So right here, I think that's the Black Hawk. And as you see, it's just, that is crazy. What? How does that happen? That does not make any sense to me, man. That doesn't make any sense at all. Let's go back to here, see what they're saying.
Of the river, the tower immediately began diverting other aircraft from Reagan. It's a pretty good second by second thing there, John, but it shows that the plane was moving to get on another runway, and they were saying go behind. So tell the helicopter, the Black Hawk helicopter, to go behind the airplane, and then you have real visibility issues on both sides.
Yes, and you know, as I was saying earlier, the alignment of those two runways.
Apparently, this is the. I guess apparently this is the commercial American Airlines jet that was involved. That's what Breaking 911 says anyway.
And you know, coming in about 40 degrees off from where they had intended to be. But that's not a difficult thing to do if they were still a few miles out. So apparently that's what they were going, you know, that's what the plan was. But why the helicopter ended up in the middle of all this, that's going to be for the NTSB to decide. Yeah,
and we've just got some new information about the helicopter. This is from the Army. It's saying that we can confirm the aircraft involved in tonight's incident was an Army UH-60 helicopter from Bravo Company, 12th Aviation Battalion, out of Davison Army Airfield, Fort Belvoir, during a training flight. We are working with local officials and will provide additional information once it becomes available. And of course, everybody's going to look at the words training flight, and a lot is going to be made out of that. It doesn't necessarily mean that an unexperienced pilot was at the controls at the time, John Scott.
No, of course not.
Training flight this late in the evening with no lights on while you're flying dark. That doesn't. Why would a training flight be flying dark?
Do proficiency checks with a Czech pilot. So I'm guessing that there would have been, you know, the Army says there were 3 soldiers on board. I'm guessing there was a pilot and a co-pilot, and then sitting sort of behind and between them would have been a Czech airman who was making sure that they were following procedures and doing it by the book. And, you know, perhaps they may find that was part of what led to this accident. Perhaps, you know, the 2 pilots are so worried about, or so, you know, occupied with trying to do the right thing, you know, that maybe they didn't spot the plane when they should have. You know, the rule in aviation is aviate, navigate, communicate. So whatever you're doing, you're supposed to fly your aircraft first and worry about everything else second and third.
John Scott, if you get new information, we will go back to you immediately. Thank you for your time and your analysis. We appreciate it. I want to go back to the senior congressional correspondent, Chad Pergram, who happens to be live near Reagan National Airport covering this story. Again, it's all hands on deck for everybody. Chad, there's word that you can see part of the fuselage of the plane. What can you tell us?
Let me kind of orient you where we are right now. If you're here and you're approaching the runway from the south, which is where this plane from Wichita was coming, if you fly into Reagan National Airport, what you start to see out into the water is almost a pier with a bunch of lights. This is kind of an extension of a landing strip. You know, when you fly into a larger airport that has a longer runway, you see those lights, you know, way in advance.
Somebody in the chat says, this dude shouldn't be giving an opinion. We don't know anything yet. What dude are you talking about? What dude? What dude you talking about, Pirate Red? Let's get some clarification on that, Pirate Red. Talking about me, Pirate Red? I mean, are you getting scared to type back? Come on, buddy. Just respond. It's okay. I know your hands are shaking right now. It's okay. It's okay. All right. Okay. All right. Damn it. See, I held off. I held off. Pirate Red, we're good. All right. Damn it. Now I have to drop gifted memberships. Even though I didn't call you out, I have to drop gifted memberships because I was getting ready. I was getting ready to go off. Now I got to drop gifted memberships. Pirate Red, 20 gifted memberships in the name of Pirate Red. Okay, there we go. All right, man, I was getting ready to roll. Pirate Red just dropped 20 gifted memberships in the chat. There we go. That's my punishment. If I mess up, I have to gift people in the chat membership. So there you go. All right, there we go. All right, let's get back
to Fort Belvoir. It's down to the south past Mount Vernon, George Washington's home. And so that's not very far. And I drive across what's called the 14th Street Bridge going into Washington, D.C. every day, or I take the Metro in, which goes across as well. And you see constant, very low helicopter traffic, usually military, sometimes going to the White House for the president under the Biden administration, under the Trump administration, often these other military, flights coming in. Sometimes they're going to the Pentagon, also going to Fort Belvoir, certainly. And they fly very low compared to those aircraft, obviously, because they come out. If they're going to the north, they go up and they bank immediately
I'm
to
sorry.
the left.
I'm sorry,
It's not
Pirate
as much
Red.
of a concern if they're going to the south. But that's where that accident appears to have happened tonight. And just to do a reset here, so we're just south of the airport. The bulk of the airport is over here. That's where you see all those emergency lights. If you look in the distance, across the way, a lot of the emergency response has been on the D.C. side of this. And again, they have called emergency rescue outfits from all over the region, Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Virginia. And we've just heard constant helicopter, traffic up above. You can hear one right now, and every so often, and I've talked about this several times, where they come and they shine this big light. It's almost like the bat signal or something over the water as they're looking for debris, looking for survivors. And we're about, 2.5 hours into this now, Trace. This happened just around 9 o'clock Eastern time tonight. And we haven't gotten anything definitive of them pulling people, directly out of the water, survivors, maybe who might have been killed, unfortunately, if that in fact happened. We just don't know. We just know the stats on how many were on board the military helicopter out of Fort Belvoir, and approximately 60 persons on that aircraft out of Wichita.
I know. I've seen some discussion going on. Please switch over to Newsmax. They have good coverage right now? Okay. Yeah. Let's go to Newsmax. Let's see here. Well, I'm on my YouTube TV feed right now, so let me switch to here. All right, give me just a second. Let me see if I have Newsmax on YouTube TV. But I have seen some people discussing, like, hey, is this is this a distraction from RFK and all that? And I'm like, I mean, listen, you don't know. It could be. I think that there's probably more going on than that, but it's always fair to ask questions. Do I have Newsmax on here or not? Trying to see. Library, go to live. I'm looking right now. Was RFK confirmed? No, he had the hearing today. Confirmation I don't know when the confirmation vote is. But the hearing was today. All right, I'll have to look up Newsmax. Let me go to this one, though. Let me see what they're saying right here on this feed.
And I realize that is not the most important thing to talk about. No. Talk about people flying out, but regardless, this is the nation's capital, and lawmakers fly in and out of there, dignitaries fly in and out of there. It's not just passenger flights, as we know. Many other important flights, smaller flights, larger flights, they all come in and out of Reagan Airport. We do know that, as Angie mentioned some time ago, the newly minted Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is monitoring the situation. They have reached out to Governor Youngkin, Mayor Bowser, Laura Kelly, who's the governor of Kansas, and Jennifer Homendy, who's the National Transportation Safety Board chair. They're all going to work together on this. But as far as information that we are getting from a district standpoint, DC police have sort of taken over. All right,
I got Newsmax. Let's see what Newsmax is saying really quick here. Okay.
First responders, and we have been looking at really these amazing photographs of this massive search and rescue operation here over these last 2.5 hours along the Potomac River. And General Holt, when something like this happens, it's not just civilian, particularly in Washington, D.C. It's not going to be just a civilian operation. It's going to be a military operation as well.
The government has to absolutely pick apart all of the procedures, all of the safeguards. They have to look at the personnel that go in and out of Reagan. They have to look at Reagan's traffic flow. Again, because the nation's capital is a no-fail mission. The security of that capital, you know, we all learned a hard lesson on 9/11 with the hit on the Pentagon, and the one that could have hit with Flight 93, that great, brilliant crew of passengers ended over Pennsylvania. So this is taken so seriously, and I can tell you that the Pentagon, its investigators, NTSB, there's going to be a whole of government look at this thing, because we just absolutely cannot compromise the security of Washington, D.C. in any way, shape, or form. If you look at, the events like Jan 6th, look at protests that happen on the ground. They're not even aviation related. They get everybody going because we have to do so many forensics to break it all apart.
All right, we got a release, press release from Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders says, "Are you supportive of the onesies?" Thanks, Bernie. Appreciate that. Bernie still has his focus in the right place, apparently. So moving on.
With the first the first responders, he had put out a statement almost immediately following news of this crash, and so again, Senator Roger Marshall, and I believe that he is also a medical doctor, if I'm not mistaken. So he has medical training. I'm sure that he is there with the first responders. Senator Marshall sending out a statement earlier, stating, "Tonight we received devastating news of what can only be described as nothing short of a nightmare. A plane traveling to the nation's capital from Wichita, Kansas, carrying roughly 60 passengers, collided with a military helicopter. My prayer is that God wraps his arms around each and every victim, and that he continues to be with their families. There are no words that can make telling this story any easier. I ask the world to join me in praying for Kansas this evening, the first responders, rescue crews, and all those involved in this horrific incident. I have been in contact with local and national authorities asking for answers, and will continue to demand more information on how this unfolded." Again, that's Senator Roger Marshall. Again, we are being that he is on the scene, and we've also now learned that the United States Coast Guard has, as Christine.
Many people have been asking about Trump. Trump has released a statement, and yeah, I'll read that statement here in just a minute, but he has released a statement.
Again, from the Homeland Security Secretary. So this is probably unlike anything that we've seen in a very long time in this country and in this nation's capital. The number of agencies, the number of departments involved here on this very cold night in our nation's capital in this search and rescue operation. And it is still a search and rescue operation. They are still hoping to pull survivors out of the water. We did have a report that 4 survivors were pulled from the Potomac early on following this devastating impact and crash.
It was a commercial plane.
They are still searching for survivors from this American Airlines crash.
What up, ABF? Thank you for the 50 gifted memberships, brother.
And as we've been discussing, temperatures have now dipped into the 30s.
We'll see you in Orlando.
The water temperature is in the 30s as well. So this is really a race against time for anyone who may have survived that the initial impact, and then also the impact into the water. But we continue to pray that folks will be found alive. Lieutenant Colonel Darren Gaub, who is still with us. You know, I go back to these Black Hawk helicopters. They're very maneuverable. I flew in them when I was over in Iraq. They're fast, they're maneuverable, they're a real workhorse of any of our branches of service that take to the skies. What else should we know about this aircraft that would be of interest to our audience, but also could be important to this investigation?
Well, Tom, I guess one thing that's worth noting is that this particular model of aircraft does not have something like a cockpit voice recorder or a data recorder that's going to be used as part of this investigation that most would expect, just because of the age of that model. So most of what you're going to get about the actual aircraft itself will be voice recordings with air traffic control, be it a tower or the radar facility. The second piece would be the actual radar track of the aircraft itself, and what actions you may or may not be able to determine about it from there. So that's one critical thing about specific to that airframe that people should be aware of. And the second thing is, if you're okay with it, part of my training in the military was I was a search and rescue trainer. And I'll tell you that this incident scene is going to get probably more help than any other incident scene that I've ever experienced. And that's going to actually create a significant risk for a lot of people trying to help, because they're going to want to get into this incident area quickly and do everything they can to help. And so the incident commander there has got a significant job in coordination, all the different agencies and the different policies and procedures that go along with this. I've been an incident commander on a much smaller.
All right, we got breaking: multiple fatalities confirmed in DC crash involving commercial jet and military helicopter. The fate of 67 people remains unknown, awaiting press conference. So apparently we will have a press conference that's going to be happening. Let me go back over here and see what they're saying really quickly.
Yeah. All right. We're going to check back in with Nana coming up in just a little bit. Again, these are we mentioned things are fluid, but that was from Zeke Miller's reporting. And what do you have there?
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if the airport's done any updates other than updating media. You can stand by for your briefings.
Yeah.
But
and by the way, that's to be determined now. Originally, they had said it was going to be somewhat imminent, but that's not going to be the case. One of the big concerns out here that we mentioned, we were checking with Mike Thomas about the weather conditions, was not necessarily about the
Thank you, Buster Nut Smash.
The air conditions, but the water temperatures.
Oh, yeah.
Because the water temperatures, according to buoys out there, were so cold, and the temperatures were so cold, it does not lend itself well to surviving in the water for long periods of time.
No. I mean, that is really what is going to increase the danger here, the danger factor. I mean, along with the low visibility we talked about, and the temperatures, it's basically, it's the water. I mean,
Thank you, Southeastern Kaiju. I appreciate it.
Of ice and snow breaking away finally on the Potomac, but it's still cold enough for ice to be out there. And so the conditions obviously not ideal. Going to be an extra challenge for not only the divers, and time is really of the essence in a situation like this.
No doubt.
And we know that since the call came in, they've been out there and they got right in the water, right in the beginning. But right now it's just so difficult for us to be able to tell you exactly where they are, because we can only get so close.
I think what struck me earlier, because Nana started over near Gravelly Point, and they started to drop some rescue boats in the water, and then very quickly they reversed. Armin Kurdian is a frequent guest here on Fox 5. He does a little bit of everything, but Armin, you have a good amount of aviation experience, and I think knowing at least what we know right now, how does something like this, I think it's a question a lot of people have. I don't know if you have the answer. How does something like this happen?
Well, I'm going to have to give you a few hypothetical scenarios. Just watching that video and how it actually occurred as the American Airlines jet is descending. The pilot, if the pilot, probably hadn't flared, is probably still looking down, but you can't really see what's below your aircraft very well. The helicopter, on the other hand, has very good visibility above it, so the pilots would be able to see what's happening above. So I would say, okay, how did the helicopter not see this American Airlines jet with flashing strobes in front of them? Were the pilots distracted in the cockpit? Were they looking at something? Did they have some other kind of issue? One is talking on the radio. Were they looking at a different display? As you can see, this happened very, very quickly. As perhaps the jet came into the helicopter's view, they may have only had a few seconds to actually notice it. Now, The other question is, okay, the air traffic control is talking to the American jet and the helicopter at the same time. Was it the same air traffic controller? Or
I think I have a different shot. Is this it? I need to look at this first. Oh, yeah. We got a new angle. We got a new angle. It's a 14-second clip. Oh, my goodness. So you can't even see this Black Hawk. You can't even, there's nothing to see. Yikes. So that is a new angle that we are getting right now. And I bet there's going to be even more angles. Wow, dude. Like, could you imagine seeing that while you're there? Thinking like, we're under attack right now. How the fuck is a Black Hawk flying with no lights on this close to a major airport? This doesn't make any sense. Again, I am not an expert on aviation, so maybe I'm missing something here, but common sense tells you that it's nighttime. Reagan International Airport, where does that rank in terms of, that's got to be one of the busiest airports in the country, right? That's got to be one of the biggest airports in the country, right? This doesn't make any sense. There's nothing about this that makes sense. When you use, all you have to use is common sense. You don't have to be a fucking expert to use common sense to go, this doesn't make sense. DEI, Jeremy. Yeah, I mean, listen, that to me, that is the most logical thing that you can guess right now. And I'm always in favor of blaming DEI for problems like this, because DEI has overrun our country for so long that when you see stuff like this, you immediately think about this. We've seen these airlines just celebrating DEI. We've seen the military celebrating DEI. So we are 100% justified in asking that question.
Sources at her disposal to get people out here. And the second update, people that were inside the airport got a very ominous alert when they looked at their screens that said there is an emergency here, no other updates, please contact your airline. So it's going to be a rough night for so many folks, both out there on the Potomac right now, but of course those that are waiting to find out what's happening for them at the airport right now. Trace.
Yeah. It's awful. Mark Meredith live for us at the airport. Mark, we'll get back to you as the news warrants. Let's bring in Dan Elwell. He is a former FAA deputy administrator. And Dan, we can see the emergency response. We know that the dive teams are in the water. We know that the boats are on the water. And we know that everybody, including the new transportation secretary, is on scene here. What else is happening, Dan? What is going on behind the scenes, and what can we expect for the next steps in this investigation?
Oh, Trace, thanks for having me. Well, right now they stand up what's called the DEN. It's a network of all relevant officials in the government, the federal government, particularly because National's location is so.
Okay. So again, statement from President Trump is right here. I have been briefed on the terrible. Oh, I gotta share my screen. I hope I don't have to restart here. Just a second, though. I'll have to find out. I have been fully briefed on the terrible accident which just took place at Reagan National Airport. May God bless their souls. Thank you for the incredible work being done by our first responders. I am monitoring the situation and provide more details as they arise. I'll be honest, I'd really like to get a lot more out of Trump at this point. I'd like for him to give us some more details. That would be very helpful. So I think I'm going to have to reshare my screen, and I hope that I don't have to restart because I just lost audio for some reason. So if so, I've got no, I don't want to do that. I want to do that. I'll put it as the background in case. All right. So let's give it just a minute here. Let's see what happens. Okay. So So I've got to stop sharing, reshare. All right, we're good. We're good. We're back. Okay. All right. So there we go. Now tell me if you can hear the audio. Right here.
News.
Right. Well, obviously, it's absolutely horrific to think about coming to the airport to meet your loved one, to pick up a visiting friend or relative. And you're right, Trace. Information just travels faster than the normal protocols that the sensitive way that you would normally reach out to someone. And I know right now this is still a search and rescue operation. And our prayers should go out towards all of those.
Mute that. Okay, right here we got an update. No survivors have been pulled out of the water so far, per CNN sources. And of course, it is CNN. Per radio traffic, 19 bodies have been recovered so far out of the 60 plus on the plane. Wow.
There's things that can play in people's favor. So.
And Tim, this search and rescue effort is very much still underway, but I do want to note that a law enforcement source is telling my colleague Gabe Cohen there are confirmed fatalities, and that right now, as of this moment, rescuers have not pulled any survivors from the water. I do want to stress and emphasize these rescue efforts are continuing. And this source told Gabe Cohen the plane is in pieces in the water and that the helicopter is nearby. It's almost sickening. Yeah.
There's things that can play in people's favor.
That's rough, man. This is going to be a long night of just investigating and seeing what's going on.
You're approaching midnight on the East Coast. An American Airlines flight 5342 crashing following a mid-air collision with a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter out of Fort Belvoir, Virginia. The aircraft, a CRJ-700, was out of Wichita, Kansas. 60 passengers, 4 crew on board, 3 crew members aboard the Black Hawk helicopter.
Oh, my God.
The plane disintegrated.
I got something to update
river.
you guys on here in just a minute, but let's hear what they have to say. This is crazy what I'm about to show you.
Some survivors, 4 survivors, that were pulled from the river. We heard that several hours ago, but we have not heard any additional confirmation on that.
Look at this right here. Where's it at? Look at this. Rescue workers have located multiple passengers underwater, still sitting in their seats. That's from the scanner. Are you freaking kidding me? Holy shit. Wow. What?
Coming down. And we've listened to some tapes, but again, sometimes a lot of information quickly can be more confusing than helpful.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. Dan Elwell, thank you. Great analysis as always. We appreciate your time and your expertise. I want to bring in Jonathan Gilliam, former Navy SEAL, who was the first agent at the U.S. Airways water landing. We talked about
newly confirmed transportation Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy is on site at the plane crash
in the
right
SEALs
now.
Team was a water rescue mission. We are now learning, Jonathan Gilliam, that it appears CBS News reporting that 18 bodies have been recovered from the Potomac River following the plane crash. And just to kind of give people clarity on the numbers, they have confirmed the numbers for us. There were 60 passengers on board American Airlines, PSA, American Eagle, flight 5342 from Wichita to DCA, along with 4 crew members. That's 64 people on board the plane, and on board the Black Hawk helicopter. We have also confirmed there were 3 Army soldiers and that it was a training flight. When you hear 18 bodies have been recovered from the Potomac, Jonathan, what's your thought about this?
I think when you combine that, Trace, with the video that we're seeing right here, the impact that both of those aircraft had, it's pretty bad. That's probably not survivable. I mean, but like you said, stranger things have happened. But you have to remember that both of these aircraft were traveling in excess of 100 miles an hour. At the same time, one was most likely descending And from what I looked at the flight tracker, it looked like it was almost like a side impact. And so the combined speeds of these aircraft and also the impact in the water is very traumatic when you hit water. I've been the first FBI agent on 3 different aircraft crashes in New York. You mentioned the Hudson on the River. That was a controlled landing. But I was also the first FBI agent on the scene when a Liberty City's helicopter collided with a commuter jet that was coming with.
Apparently, we got a clip from CNN trying to subtly blame this on Trump. Let's see. Here we go. Minutes after the DCA plane crash, CNN anchor Abby Phillips is already trying to blame the Trump administration for the crash. Callous and yet entirely predictable.
Mary, I have one more question for you. Look, it's January 29th. We are just 9 days out from a presidential transition, an administrative transition. The FAA administrator resigned at the end of the Biden administration. So there is no permanent confirmed FAA administrator right now. This is going to be a time when there's going to be a lot of public communication and a lot of investigation of what happened here.
Yep.
What do you anticipate this transition period is going to mean for what happens today and tomorrow and in the coming days as we find out what happened here?
100% trying to bring the anti-Trump narrative into it without saying it. Fucking pieces of shit, because they know they can't come right out and say it. So they're trying to speak it into existence. Well, if the Biden team would have won, we wouldn't have had to make these switchovers. I fucking hate the mainstream media so bad. I despise them with every bone in my body. Like, good Lord. The legacy media, these clowns are fucking horrible. Like today, the way that they handled the RFK situation, the way that they handled the press briefing the other day, new media is here. That's why there's 5,000 people watching me at 11 o'clock Central Time right now. So, God, it's just insane, man. Okay, right here, over 2 hours into the search and rescue operation, not a single survivor has been located. That is per garbage CNN. Not a single survivor as of right now, based on the reports. Now we are going to have a press conference very soon. So it looks like they're getting ready to have a press conference. I mean, I would like to hear from President Trump. I know we've heard a statement from him. I'd like to hear more from Trump.
Rescue operation unfold in our nation's capital. What stands out to you the most? You said earlier that it just doesn't make sense, that there are a number of things that just don't make sense here. But as we reset and we await this press conference, which you see in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, for us to get our first official update on the crash, what stands out to you?
It's that straight line of the helicopter, unimpeded, doesn't change course, doesn't move, doesn't adjust its vector. And as a pilot, at some point, that pilot has to see that he's closing on something. I get it. You can lose an aircraft in the light, no light pollution, but I don't see that light of that helicopter ever moving in a manner that adjusts its course whatsoever. And I know we're going to learn more, but that bothers me. I don't understand that part of this whole thing at all. And we're really going to have to pick apart these radio transmissions. And then, maybe the survivors themselves will have at least the ability later on to tell us about where the impact was in the aircraft, what they can remember from this thing. But that's the thing that stands out the most. My heart and prayers are with the families and the loss that they're going to feel. But right now, my heart is with those first responders and those divers that are in that cold water, recovering those bodies, trying to find someone alive. and this is going to be with them forever. And we all need to think about what brave people would put on a wetsuit right now, no notice, probably with their families, gotten called out, going down into the depths, looking, and that they pulled out 4 in this type of situation. Oh my gosh. I'm just so proud that there's Americans like that that will go do that for their fellow Americans.
We've talked so much.
If you're tuning in, if you're looking to hear what's going on exactly, here is an update as to what has happened tonight. We had a mid-air collision over the DC airport, Reagan Airport, Reagan International. Black Hawk military helicopter struck a commercial jet. 64 people on board the American Airlines flight, 3 soldiers on the Black Hawk. Multiple people pulled from the Potomac River. That is incorrect. At least there's been no survivors pulled from the Potomac River. Conditions on any of the survivors unknown. Right now, there are no survivors in terms of the latest update that we've gotten. And President Trump has been briefed and he released a statement. We've shown some video of it, and the video doesn't make this any less confusing. In fact, it makes it more confusing, but at the same time, there's no reason, there's no justification for what we've seen on video with this Black Hawk helicopter flying late at night with no lights on whatsoever. You could not see the Black Hawk helicopter. It was completely invisible. And I don't understand why that would be happening near a very busy airport, a major airport. And what we're hearing from the military is that it was a training flight. I don't buy that at all. That's a very standard kind of bullshit response that we've all become immune to at this point in time. So that's where we are right now. So we're waiting on a press conference. Here, and let's see what they're saying right here.
Another radio call to the helicopter moments later. PAT-25 passed behind the CRJ. Seconds after that, the 2 aircraft collide. The plane's radio transponders stopped transmitting about 2,400 feet short of the runway, roughly over the middle of the river. The tower immediately began diverting other aircraft from Reagan. So it sounds like there were a couple of attempts to get a hold of this helicopter, and there was no response. And it seems to be, when you look at the video, that this was kind of toward the rear of the airplane. Ken, what do you think of that?
If I'm insinuating it's planned, that's retarded as fuck. Well, I am retarded regardless if that's what I'm insinuating or not. So we've established that. If you want to do something like that, do it during the day with a large aircraft. I'm not insinuating anything. I'm doing a very, 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 very dangerous thing. I'm asking questions. I'm asking uncomfortable questions, and because we don't have any answers. So I will continue to ask uncomfortable questions. But yes, I am retarded, regardless if that was what I was insinuating or not.
That's what I think probably was most likely happening. But it'll become more clear as they sift through the data and clearly when they recover the wreckage. But the recovery of the body is clearly, I would say, survivors, if there were survivors. And the temperature of the water is you're only going to be in there for 10, 15 minutes before you just can't move anymore. So the time that's has passed is not good for any survivors.
Yeah, the news conference happening in about 23 minutes, Ken. But what I'm surprised
so we had a press conference.
That,
Let me get.
You look at some of this, and you've got a lot of people around the country.
Got a ton of super chats. Like the way I'm covering some of this news stuff, it's hard for me to like really lean into the chat right now, and I apologize for that. And I really appreciate you guys being here. Let's see. We've got I did highlight some of these earlier, but like your Barmy says, we need to know who was on the plane. Yeah, that is a question for sure. Let's see. Cramerica Industries says, yeah, that Breaking Bad plane crash was based off of an actual incident over California in the 80s. Is that true? I didn't know that. I did not know that. I just want to watch Breaking Bad again, man. Like, Breaking Bad is like a perfect television show. It just is. It's great. And Better Call Saul is almost just as good, although El Camino is not great. El Camino was disappointing. Chad Layton says, looks like the plane was coming at a 40-degree angle, nose up, helicopter flying across the path of the jet. Looks like the jet flew mid-body into the chopper. Boom, fireball. Ouchie. Yeah, it's pretty rough. Better Call Saul sucked, bro. No, it didn't. Better Call Saul was great. It just didn't have as good of an ending as Breaking Bad, but Better Call Saul was great. Let's see. We've got Black Art says, RIP to the lives lost in this incident to both my military bros and sis that were on that helicopter, as well as the people on the American Airlines flight. 100%. RIP for sure. Alec Baldwin's finger dropped 50 gifted memberships earlier.
Who the fuck is Alec Baldwin's finger?
Thank you, Alec Baldwin's finger, you mad lad, you. Appreciate that. He don't miss. He don't miss, ladies and gentlemen. He never does miss. That's just how he is. Clint says, CIA military Black Hawk helicopter. Nah, they would have sensors and lots of clearance. This was deliberate. I've got Jade says, look up let's see, Lenawee Democrats for offing the Trump supporters. Eric K says FAA has been under fire for all the DEI hiring lately. X-Wing says no ATC call, no flight plan, no lights, irregular pattern, perpendicular to taxi and runway, just odd. Very odd. Very, very odd. And again, we're currently waiting for a press conference. It's like we're going to have a press conference here in about 15 or 20 minutes. Leighton Hallman says, who was on the plane is the biggest question now. Mike's Hangout says, I just got here. Can you tell me what's going on and what happened? I think I've probably updated so far. NDI says, get Chrissy in here. It was Chrissy in the chat earlier. What's up, Chrissy? Chrissy Mayer. Hail, Chrissy Mayer. I got the 50 from Smokey One Kenobi. Thank you. Dougie B with the 50. Thank you. Jeremy Cyborg, I got that one. Ben Giles got that one. Commodore Fan says, everyone say prayers for the innocent involved. 100%. John Jones says, seeing the video and flight pattern of the chopper looked deliberate. I also flew out of Reagan on American Airlines, leaving the inauguration. Horrifying. Big time. Fantastic Snock says, DEI Donald Inzit. Marlena says, did you know about the new X account, Rapid Response 47? It allows Caroline Levitt to quickly respond to false rumors in real time. No, I have been seeing people use that one. Here, I'll follow that. Rapid Response 47. Okay. I will follow that right now. Boom. That's where the press release was. Rapid Response 47. So here's that Twitter account right here if everybody wants to go check that one out. Rapid Response 47. Official rapid response account of the Trump 47 White House, supporting POTUS's America First agenda and holding the fake news accountable. MAGA. I like that. That's damn good. That's good. This is a moment like this is a moment that the Trump administration really needs to respond in a very, very transparent way. I mean, obviously they've done a phenomenal job up to this point, but this is a moment right here where we need full on transparency from the Trump administration. So we can he can set the tone, which he's already set in a blistering tone, but this is a big moment for how they're going to handle this. And I have full confidence that they will. Zioni says CNN and Dems already blaming Trump for this, as they always do. Michael says, do not blame DEI for this one. I regularly call out DEI in the airline industry. I know the airline crew, good pilots, the pilots screwed up. The helicopter pilot screwed up. I mean, to say I hope so is probably the wrong thing to say, because it's weird, man. Like when you hear about a tragedy, you know, you're often like, for me, okay, I'm in my 40s. I know people sometimes are shocked. Yes, I'm in my 40s. But like if I hear like someone dies and they're around my age, and if I hear that it's just like natural causes, it freaks me out. So I'm often hoping like, well, is this person on drugs? And if I hear they're on drugs, I'm like, all right, well, it makes me feel better. It makes me feel like a shitty person when I do that, but it's, you know, it makes me feel better when it's drugs and not natural causes. I think we all do that. Now in terms of like, this, I don't there's no scenario with this where you're going to feel better about it. If it's a freak accident, you're going to feel terrible. If it's deliberate, you're going to feel terrible. If it was just a mistake on one party or the other, you're going to feel terrible, So, Fantastic Mr. Knox says, check Trump's truth. He has responded as of 5 minutes. Yeah, you're talking about the initial response. Yeah, we got that one. Ghost Crusader TV says DEI is responsible for this. Clint says, why over a civilian airport at night? No lights, no transponder for a training flight. I smell BS. Casey Cheeto says, I worked as a crash fire rescue firefighter in an airport. I've responded to runway incidents and near mid-air misses. Depending on the air traffic control comms, it could very well be an accident. Here we go right there. Yeah, Trump did use the word accident for sure in his response. Didn't he? Shadow Sans says justice for Pirate Red. Yeah, I felt bad for that one. I felt bad. The Bob Godmate says somehow this too will be blamed on Iran. Rusty Shackleford says that news guy is scum for speculating we fly blacked out all the time for night training. Near a major airport? Is that like, again, I am, and by the way, I would be, I'm scum too then, but you fly blacked out for training near a major airport? Why? That doesn't make sense to me. But again, I'm just an idiot, so that doesn't make sense to me. Commodore fan says, please switch to Newsmax feed if possible. Charles G says, it would be hard to fly there with NVGs with all those lights. It's possible that the helicopter crew didn't have NVGs down when the crash happened. Let's see. Oh, so uncivilized for 50 says ATC gives aircraft spacing, but they may have asked aircraft to stay visually separated. The jet has TCAS, which alerts for traffic and gives an escape path. That path is disabled under 1,000 feet since maneuvering that low and slow can result in a stall. There is a lot of details that you said Fox News, Fox 5 has the best stuff. Let me see if I can find that. Thank you, so uncivilized. I appreciate it. And this is why the chat's the MVP, though, because, I mean, at the end of the day, and this is what some content creators don't understand, no matter who you are, no matter how many followers you have, no matter how many people are watching you, no matter how much money you have or don't have, you're not smarter than the internet, all right? You're just here as a vehicle to bring people together. Rely on your audience to help you when you don't know the answers or to get more information. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. You're not smarter than the internet, okay? The moment you think you're smarter than the internet, you're going to end up getting completely destroyed by the internet. It's that simple. So respect the people. It's that simple. All right, let me see. Let me see if I can get another feed here. Got this one. Let's see.
5 a.m. on Friday now.
Till Friday, so another full day for this investigation to go on. So what does that tell you?
Well, I want to make a point that you talked about. You just said something that could be a clue about 10 seconds ago. When there's another aircraft, helicopter, fixed wing that is approaching the runway I am landing on, the controller will say,
all right, well, they're still just kind of talking, and I'm just hoping to hear from the news conference. So I want to stay on this feed right now. So we can have the actual news conference.
We know officials in Kansas have been trying to put together an update as well. There was please contact your airline.
First time news stand his first mission. In fact, Jonathan, if you'll stand by, I'm going to reset at the top, and then we'll bring you back in very quickly to give some more clarity here. As we wind down 5 seconds until the top of the hour, we continue our breaking news coverage.
We're not at the top of the hour.
And it is midnight on the East Coast. It's 9 o'clock here in Los Angeles. I'm Trace Gallagher in Los Angeles.
Let me get this feed. Give me just a second here. We'll refresh. Get this feed right here. Try again. Why do you want me to try again? Okay. All right. Yeah, Team YouTube or YouTube TV sucks. So I'm trying to fix it. Give me just a second here. Here we go. And we're almost back. Give me just a second. Unless y'all want to watch Anderson Cooper. We'll pass.
Time
We'll
frame
pass.
between the warning and the actual collision, was that enough warning time from ATC? This is probably going to have many, many different things in it that should have gone differently that resulted in this happening. And I think that's really important to point out. It's not, very rarely is it one particular thing that leads to a catastrophe like this.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's spot on, because when I was learning to fly, they would always tell you, listen, it's not one thing that causes a crash. And this is back in the days where you had TWA Flight 800. It's not just one thing. It's always a...
All right, so we're looking at that press conference right there. And again, don't forget, I'm going to be live tomorrow morning, early tomorrow morning, to cover the Kash Patel confirmation hearing, which I think is going to be fireworks. So I'll be live covering that. The American Airlines CEO released a video statement. Okay, let me see if I can find that really quickly. Yep, here it is. Here we go.
Hello, everyone. I'm Robert Isom, the CEO of American Airlines. I want to brief you on a serious accident that occurred involving an American Eagle aircraft. The aircraft was operated by PSA Airlines, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of American Airlines. First and most importantly, I'd like to express our deep sorrow about these events. This is a difficult day for all of us at American Airlines, and our efforts now are focused entirely on the needs of our passengers, crew members, partners, first responders, along with their families and loved ones. I know that there are many questions, and at this early stage, I'll not be able to answer all of them, but I do want to share the information I have at this time. American Eagle Flight 5342, operated by PSA Airlines, a CRJ 700 aircraft traveling from Wichita, Kansas to Washington Reagan National Airport, has been involved in an accident near Washington, D.C. It appears to have collided with a military aircraft on approach. Flight 5342 was under the command of 4 crew members and carried 60 passengers for a total of 64 people on board. We are actively working with local, state, and federal authorities on emergency response efforts, and the American Airlines care team has been activated to assist our passengers and their families. We're cooperating fully with the National Transportation Safety Board in its investigation and will continue to provide all the information we can. Our cooperation is without pause, and we want to learn everything we can about today's events. That work will take time.
Always.
We can do now.
Chat is always
right
brutal.
Now, that means focusing on taking care of all passengers and crew involved, as well as their families. Members of our GO team will be on their way to Washington, D.C., and I'll be heading there shortly as well. We know that many people will be concerned for the welfare of their loved ones, and we've set up a special helpline friends and family can call at 1-800-679-8215. That's 1-800-679-8215. If you believe you've had friends or family on board American Eagle Flight 5342. We understand and appreciate that people are eager for information. Please know that we'll continue to share accurate and timely information as soon as we can. But anything we must report must be accurate. We owe that to everyone involved. Our team of highly trained professionals will be working around the clock to support our passengers, crew, and their families however we can, and we'll update you as soon as we can. Thank you.
So there you have it. There is the American Airlines CEO with his update. Yes, chat is brutal. Chat's always brutal. That's because chat keeps it real. All right, no filters, man. They just outside of the YouTube filters, but chat keeps it real. I thought it was. I mean, look, I respect the fact that a dude's releasing a statement this quickly. So, but Pete Hegseth has said latest blow, absolutely tragic. Search and rescue efforts still ongoing. Prayers for all impacted souls and their families. Investigation launched immediately. So there you go, right there. Investigation launched immediately by Army and Department of Defense. So there you have the newly Secretary of Defense already on it. So again, it's nice to have adults back in charge in Washington right now. Let's see what the latest is here.
Or down or turn. Why didn't the helicopter go up or down or turn? Why didn't the control tower tell the helicopter what to do instead of asking if they saw the plane? It's a bad situation that looks like it should have been prevented. Not good. I think the tower did try to inform the helicopter pilot to go behind, to see if they saw it, and then to go behind. That was the transmission we got. So, and it's unclear if there was a response, and it's also unclear if the tower tried to reach out to the plane. But the pilots we have had on, the experts say they wouldn't want to bother the plane right now if they didn't think it was an absolute critical situation. And at that time, it appears they were just kind of checking to make sure that the Black Hawk helicopter pilots saw the jet. And we're telling them, we're kind of guiding them to go toward the rear, go toward the back of the plane to clear the area. So again, you have.
I got this video right here. Let's back this up, okay? All right, let's look at this. Plane comes into view. Helicopter in view. If this is an accident, this is a fucking freaky accident, because this makes no sense, man. You're approaching a very busy airport. Reagan International has got to be one of the, it's got to be like one of the 15 busiest airports in the country. It's got to be. We're just slowly watching them just go towards each other. What? Trump posted? Okay, I'll pull that up here in just a second. And there it is. Wow. How did that happen? Wow. Trump posted 4 minutes ago, "What a terrible night this has been. God bless you all." So that is from the 47th president of the United States.
Captain and former Virginia Senate candidate Hung Cao. He also served in Navy Special Operations as a deep sea diver. Mr. Cao, we hear you've actually salvaged a plane wreckage before. What can you tell us about the situation where you have a plane in two pieces in the Potomac in 7 feet of water, and the helicopter is close by, also upside down? How do you approach this?
Well, Chase, again, what a tragedy, and my heart goes out to the family. At some point, we're going to have to shift from a rescue operation to a salvage operation. So we need to bring in barges and a crane on a barge. And then we would mobilize right now the Expeditionary Diving and Salvage Unit 2 down in Norfolk, Virginia, bring them up here with divers and chasing gear and studying the planes for
hang on.
strong points so we can lift them up, where we can attach.
All right, I got another one from Trump now. Let's see. Where did it go? Is this for real? All right, here we go. This is from Trump. The airplane was on a perfect and routine line of approach to the airport. The helicopter was going straight at the airplane for an extended period of time. It is a clear night. The lights on the plane were blazing. Why didn't the helicopter go up or down or turn? Why didn't the control tower tell the helicopter what to do instead of asking if they saw the plane? This is a bad situation that looks like it should not have that it should have been prevented. Not good. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. We finally have a fucking leader in office that's willing to call it like it is. Thank goodness. I didn't see that one though. Let's see. Yep. Okay. All right. That was 8 minutes ago. Okay. So yeah, there we go. So that is from Trump right there. So there you go. You actually have a leader in the White House that's actually paying attention to what's going on right now and is actually asking the same questions that we're asking
in a very short amount of time.
Yes, I mean, absolutely. They've already done the initial search. They're looking all around the aircraft and inside the aircraft. You know, I don't want to give people false hope, but, you know, sometimes the autonomic system, what we learn in ice diving is the autonomic response is that you stop breathing. That's why you hear stories of kids falling through the ice and they're found like 20 minutes later and resuscitated and they're alive because your body just stops breathing, right? It's just an automatic thing that God gave you that just stops all the breathing. And, but, you know, this has been a while now. And so at some point, the on-scene commander is going to have to call it and say, okay, we're shifting to salvage operations. And at that point, the salvors would come in. Like, you know, we've done a lot of these salvage operations before. And you just take your time and do it right because you don't want to put other people in danger, other divers, and, you know, and you want to recover the plane as intact as possible.
But I would also assume that getting inside, and again, we're still waiting for the news conference. It has not begun. We will go to it live when it does. Getting inside the helicopter, Mr. Cow, has got to be a kind of a different, it's got to be a different strategy altogether because the helicopter, our understanding is, from those on the scene, the helicopter is upside down. And I'm not sure if that makes it accessible. Do you have to go underwater to access it and then go up into the helicopter where there might be air pockets? And so that seems to be a little bit more difficult of a situation to figure out.
Again, I would open the two doors and then put a bridle through there, and then using a crane, I'd pull the fuselage out of the water. That would be the first thing we recover, obviously. And that's why I want to float some barges there and a crane on a barge so you can safely recover these fuselages.
Yeah. Any question that you think should be asked at the news conference? If you were on scene, if you were part of the search and rescue team, what would you want to know from this news conference? Anything about the final seconds of the flight? Anything that could give you an advantage on how you proceed?
No, not really. I mean, at this point, once it becomes a salvage operation, you know, we just need to know how many bodies to recover, so we can recover those first and take them out of the water and then pull the fuselage up. Because once, you know, what you don't want is to pull a plane out and just we'll still have remains inside.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an awful situation, Mr. Cow. Thank you very much for your expertise. We appreciate it. I want to go back very quickly to Paul Morrow, who clearly has information. He gets a lot from these situations. Paul, from the last time we talked, we have now learned that the fuselage that Chad Pergram said that he saw is
okay. I'm going to share something. I don't think it's just something that someone has posted. People have it was posted. Wait, okay. That was only posted 6 minutes ago. Okay. Well, that's why maybe it doesn't have a community note. I'm going to share it. I'm not saying it's true. I am delivering information to the audience. Okay. I don't believe this. CNN allegedly had pre-written articles about the Washington crash hours online before the event, and lots of people have receipts. Okay. So I'm just sharing what I'm seeing. Okay. I'm just sharing what I'm seeing. There's no community notes. So I'm just showing you. That's from this account right here that has almost 900,000. So there you go. You guys can go check that out if you're interested. But my job is to tell the people what other people are talking about. So there you go.
Clarity.
It can't be true.
The rescue
it can't be
operation
true.
going on right now. I wish I had better news. I don't really have any news, but I would say right now,
I personally do not buy it. I don't buy it. CNN's not that relevant anymore to have that information anyway.
Telling us here the water is at 37 degrees, Paul. You know, they have clearly been inside the fuselage because they're telling us some information. They have pulled 18 bodies out of the water. We don't know if those were in the water when they were recovered or if they were inside the airplane.
If that turns out to be somebody that just does the troll stuff, I have muted so many accounts on Twitter because of the bullshit. And I know a lot of people complain like, oh, Twitter's just become worse when it got monetized. And it's like, welcome to the internet, man. That's the internet. This when you have a free, open society of people that are willing to talk about stuff, this is what you get. It's, you know, you have to work through the bullshit, and you have to learn who you trust and who you don't trust. This is part of it. If you want to have a decentralized media, which is essentially what we have right now, then some people are going to be full of shit and some people aren't going to be full of shit. And it's our job to figure out what works and what doesn't work for us. I've got a shit ton of people muted on Twitter because of all of it.
Trying to make order out of chaos here. And one of the things they're going to be getting, I'm sure, from American Airlines, I'm sure they have it already, is the manifest. You want to see who was on that plane, but that doesn't mean it's entirely accurate. A lot of instances down through history where you have plane crashes where people are reported to be on the plane. Turns out they weren't. Planes always take off with people who missed the plane, changed their flights at the last minute. I've been involved in investigations where people were on planes that were not supposed to be and, was stopped at some point even while the plane was taxiing. So this stuff can be a little bit loose. And so you're going to be wanting to try to match.
If you're tuning in, we're waiting for the press conference. Apparently, we're going to get a press conference here momentarily. After the press conference, I'll probably read some super chats and then try to wrap this up because, like I said, I'm supposed to be up here early tomorrow morning. Let's see. All right, got people sending me links and stuff. Let me see what these links
to
are.
ever do. But at some point here, when this information is hardened up and you know you got the right name and you got the right person, we're going to get into that piece of it as well as part of the whole aftermath here.
Yeah, and it's also, one of those things where people are wondering who was on the plane, who was on the flight coming in from Wichita into Wichita, the home of Cessna, coming in from Wichita into D.C. Were there any prominent people on board the airplane is another question that will be asked in the next several minutes and hours, Paul, because you have this situation where every plane that lands in the D.C. area potentially has a prominent member of the government or a lawmaker, and the list.
All right, here's a tweet right here. I'm a flight instructor and a professional pilot. This serves to add as some context and explanation for the DC accident and how it could have happened. It's one of the scariest things as a pilot. We work very hard to comply with air traffic control instructions and do exactly as told so we don't cross paths. In this case, it appears as though the two aircrafts converging with both being in a blind spot. Head on would be easy to see. Something creepy, same altitude, and meeting your path will appear not to move at all. It'll just get larger out of the corner of your eye, very hard to track. Despite this, things still happen. It's exceedingly rare. While close calls are not, let's see, it almost always boils down to miscommunication by air traffic control or the pilots or both. Over the past few years, we've had some very, very close calls where mainly hundreds of people could have died. The FAA and Pete Buttplug tried to address this, but it's more of a systemic issue. It's been only a matter of time. The fact that you're giving Pete Buttigieg any credit whatsoever almost disqualifies you, but neither here nor there. Prayers to those lost. Media is welcome to reach out for consulting, context, subject matter on the expert. Well, I'll say this. I'll reach out to you and say, don't ever use Pete Buttplug as a reference to justify your comments if you want to be taken seriously. Fuck Pete Buttplug, him and his fucking boyfriend and all of his DEI gay bullshit. All right. So they can go to fucking hell. And so giving him any credibility whatsoever means that I don't take your comment seriously. So I'll just leave it at that. All right, here we go.
Final approach. There's a nice, easy curve to their approach to runway 33. They are losing altitude at what appears to be the appropriate rate. There is some indication that the helicopter was higher than it was supposed to be at 350 feet rather than maybe 200 feet. And I would point this out too, Trace, and it sort of echoes what Jonathan Gilliam had to say earlier. this collision took place at about 350 feet altitude. That is, the top of a 35-story building.
Right.
And if you look at the collision, it's pretty obvious that even the jet aircraft plunges virtually immediately down to the water. Now, my pilot friends who have flown into Reagan significant numbers of times say that that runway approach into 3-3 is basically over a mud flat. So when you say that, the water's only 7 feet deep, that makes sense. And if that plane fell from a height of 350 feet and went essentially straight down into the water, the chances of anyone surviving that impact are virtually nil.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And I also wonder, John,
we got aerial shots. Images are being released showing aerial shots of rescue boats surrounding the crumpled fuselage from the American Airlines flight floating in the Potomac. So I guess that's what these are. So, there you go. So we're still waiting on the press conference, the official word.
I heard them ask, do you have the regional jet in sight? I didn't hear a response from the chopper, which makes me wonder if they were on the right frequency, frankly. This whole thing reminds me of a crash that took place in New York City back in 2009 that I had a hand in covering, when a light plane, a 6-seat plane, collided with a tourist helicopter.
This dude talking sounds like Dick Cheney.
About 1,000 to 1,500.
I know it's not Dick Cheney, because he actually probably has some compassion for people, but it sounds like Dick Cheney, and it's freaking me the fuck out. It's freaking me out big time.
The pilot has difficulty seeing anything much below the horizon line. The helicopter was sort of overtaken from the rear, and the two just didn't see each other. And that's
Brett Hume? Is that Brett Hume? That ain't Brett Hume.
The jet was on an
Brett
instrument
Hume.
flight.
Brett Hume's not awake right now.
Friend who
is that Hume for real?
Has flown for the airlines for years says TCAS, the traffic collision avoidance system, between jets, it will tell commercial jet.
Yeah, there's no way Britt Hume is awake. All right, it's a miracle that the man still. Britt Hume, I've said this before. Britt Hume has been 70 for the last 50 years. This man has been 70 years old for the last 5 decades.
Does the Army equip its Black Hawk helicopters with the TCAS system? Because you can't have one talking to an aircraft that doesn't have TCAS. They both have to have TCAS on board.
Yeah. And that's kind of what we were talking about earlier, John. And I'm wondering, just to kind of to fit the timeline here, you talk about that. And I'm also wondering, when you listen back to the tower transmissions, the conversation between, not even a conversation, the one-way, the warnings or whatever, you say that you heard, do you have the regional jet in sight? And we know Correct. They also said, quoting, you have this priority air transport pass behind the CRJ. What was said first, John? Did they warn, do you have the regional jet in sight, or did they say pass behind the CRJ? And then did they say, do you have it in sight?
Trace, I would have to go back and listen to it again, and I can do that before I talk to you again the next time. I believe the order was, do you have the jet in sight? And then a few seconds later, they said, pass behind the regional jet. And the collision happened almost immediately after that second instruction.
How about this? Look at this. Our plane from D.C. diverted from Reagan Airport. Let's see. And then due to the plane crash, the passenger jet collided with the Black Hawk midair. You know how nervous they probably had to be in that moment? You know how nervous and crazy scary that probably was for them? You're probably like, oh man, what's going on? What's happening? I bet that's terrifying, man.
To talk to the helicopter, and they did seem to sense that they had a problem.
Yeah. John, thank you for your time. Stand by. If you've got more information, we'd love to bring you back on. We appreciate that, John Scott. Let's bring back in the senior congressional correspondent, Chad Pergram. He is live near Reagan National. There are planes flying around you at the scene. And what can you tell us about that, Chad?
Yeah, these are helicopters, these rescue and search helicopters that have been flying. And there's been 2 or 3 that have come through and done very low passes in this little inlet of water in this marina over the past few minutes, spraying their searchlight, kind of going back and forth like you would do a railroad lantern, back and forth, left to right. They've done that 3 or 4 times. That's the closest that they've come in here. And one of the reasons we believe that to be the case is I'm told that there are 3 distinct debris fields from the helicopter and then the airplane itself. And so, again, the Potomac River, this time of year, it's down to about 7 feet at the lowest in this area, maybe up to about 20, 21 feet at the highest. So you get some very low areas, especially near the end of that runway. And
this is difficult to even talk about. My God. What I'm about to, this is insane. I can't believe we're getting this story out of this tragedy right now. This is fucking horrible. Husband received a text message from his wife that she was landing minutes before her flight crashed as he waited at the DC airport. Oh, no. Oh, man. That is just awful. Holy crap. Right here it is from the New York Post. Let me blow this up a little bit. Wow. A husband revealed that he received a text message from his wife minutes before the American Airlines flight collided with an Army Black Hawk helicopter. I'm just praying someone is pulling her out of the river right now. That's all I can pray for. Holy crap. That is insane. So that's him. Holy crap. That is brutal. Wow. That's gut-wrenching, dude.
In that news conference later tonight. So again, what is amazing about this scene right now is just the dearth of information. And the idea that we've been out here for so long, and other than, as you reported earlier, Trace, that they had recovered 18 bodies, we haven't heard much more than that. And, you could read that as a good sign. You could read that as a bad sign. The other thing that I've been told here, and I've been listening to some of the radio traffic with the airport, that there were people who were out on planes that were ready to depart or had just come back in, and they couldn't take them into the airport. And so what they've been doing in about the past hour is getting all those people into the airport, figuring out hotels, figuring out booking agents. As you indicate, the airport's going to be closed until 5 o'clock Friday morning, but there are probably thousands of people in that airport right now that they have to deal with and figure out what is the next step.
Yeah,
Trace?
Chad Pergram, live on scene for us. Chad, thank you. We're talking about live ATC. We just talked about this with John Scott. And of course, we mentioned that in this conversation between the tower and the Black Hawk helicopter, there were a couple of messages that were sent. And now we're learning that Fox News is reporting that the Army helicopter did respond to the tower. In fact, I'm going to read you the quote here. Fox News is reporting that the Army helicopter did not respond to the tower when they asked if the helicopter had the regional jet in sight. In fact, it appears that they did respond, but on a different tower frequency. So they were on a tower frequency for helicopters. It appears that the tower controller was working both frequencies. And so as John Scott was kind of laying it out for us, and he's probably on this ATC transcript right now on this voice recording, getting the clarity on this. But we talked about this, and it's very imperative here, because we know there were 2 warnings, and maybe warning is too strong, but there were 2 directions given from the tower to the Black Hawk helicopters. And one of them was to pass behind. And the other one was, do you see the regional jet? And apparently we have been reporting, because that's the information we have, because that's the transcript, that the helicopter did not respond. And now Fox News is saying, getting information that they did respond, but it was on a different line. I want to bring John Scott back in. So, John, if you didn't hear any of that, Fox now reporting it appears they did respond, but on a different tower frequency. They were on a frequency for helicopters, and it appears that the tower controller was working both frequencies, which is why in the conversation that you were listening to, you probably didn't hear a response. And
here's what I think. I think at this point in time, I'm more, based on the information we're getting, I'm more likely to believe that this could be a freak accident, but I'm only willing to believe that because I know that we have the confidence. I have the confidence that we're going to find out the truth regardless. I know we're going to find out the truth because President Trump is in office. You know, I know that we have the people in place that we're truly going to find out, but to question it, absolutely should be questioning it. Everybody should be questioning all of this shit. A freak accident like this, a couple of weeks into the Trump administration, where he's just destroying all of Biden's policies and making America great again, and then you have this freak accident happen, there's always going to be a level of suspicion that goes with that, and it's right to be suspicious of that. But this is a horrific situation that I'm glad I have confidence we're going to get clear answers. The more involved you have people like Pete Hegseth, you know, President Trump, Kristi Noem, I feel confident about that. And the thing I look at is like, could you imagine if Joe Biden was our president right now? Could you imagine if Kamala Harris was our president right now and this happens? What confidence would you have? Zero. You would have zero. I know I would have zero.
Did you see that? 472. American 3130, go around, turn left end 250, flight maintain 3000. Left end 350, 3000, American 3130.
yeah, we kind of looped it a couple of times to hear there, but the thing that I'm caught by and in that, John, is where he says, "Did you see that?" And I don't know what he means. He said, "Did you see that?" What it's surprising.
I believe that's another aircraft who saw the explosion. What happens, and I took a minute to listen to that exchange after the last time you and I spoke. And yes, he does first say to the chopper, he says, TAC 25, do you have the CRJ in sight? And then almost immediately he says, you know, TAC 25, go behind, meaning fly behind the regional jet. And the collision takes place in less than 5 seconds after that last transmission, more like probably 3 seconds.
And so, and you didn't hear it, but it's, and again, and this is unclear, John, but it appears that the helicopter pilot or one of the helicopter pilots did respond, and it would have been, we presume, in that 5 second window before it hit the plane. It's
yeah, the instructions from the tower are so rapid fire. I mean,
agreed. As long, I'm just waiting for Trump to tell, you know, once they tell us what happens.
After asking whether the CRJ is in sight, and then he gets back on virtually immediately. So there was not a lot of time for the chopper pilot to respond. And again, if he was on a different frequency or even on a different band, on a UHF band, it just, you know, from everything that I'm hearing, it sounds like the two were not talking to one another. They just, the tower wasn't hearing whatever the chopper was saying.
Wow. Yeah. Great insight. John Scott, who's a pilot, been covering aviation analysis and disasters for a very long time. John, thank you. We appreciate your time. And just so we can kind of get a clear vision of this. So the helicopter hits the plane and they both go down. And now we know, and by the way, we're waiting for a news conference. You see in the right-hand side of the screen that was set for 12:30 East Coast time. It's now 12:52 and 24 seconds East Coast time. We haven't gotten any word about that news conference being moved up or back or canceled. So it is still appears to be not on schedule, but it still appears to be happening at some point in time. But the plane is hit by the helicopter and they both go into the water. And now we have learned that those aircraft are both in the Potomac and the helicopter is upside down. And you have the plane that is broken in at least two pieces, which we're being told from the people on the scene, at least two pieces. And they are visible, as Chad Pergram told us, pieces of the fuselage are visible. This appears to be those gathering for the news conference, visible, and the teams were on scene to actually go through and assess that. So as soon as we get a shot of the front of this news conference, here we have it right now, let's listen in very quickly.
I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm the mayor of Washington, D.C. I'm at Reagan National Airport. I am joined by United States Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, United States Senator Jim Moran, Senator Roger Marshall, Jack Potter, the CEO of the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority. We are here to brief you on the very tragic events of this evening, where we know a passenger plane coming to the airport here collided with a military helicopter. Our fire department, DC Fire and EMS, supported by fire departments and police departments from across the Washington metropolitan region, are executing a rescue operation in the Potomac River. They are working diligently in very dark and cold conditions, cold water, to execute this rescue operation. We have had the opportunity to be briefed by American Airlines officials. I'm told that American Airlines leadership is on the way to Washington as well. And officials are in the airport talking to families now. We do have a 1-800 number where families should contact us, should contact American Airlines for more information, and we will be providing that information shortly. I am going to turn to a number of officials to provide as much information as we can this evening, and we expect to have more frequent briefings at daylight. So with that, I'm going to turn to Secretary Duffy.
Thank you, Mayor Bowser. I think for all of us, we want to extend our thoughts and prayers to those individuals who were impacted by the events tonight, their families. We know this is a very difficult time for all of them. I want to join the mayor and everyone here to extending our thank you to the first responders who, again, in very difficult
and this is Trump's transportation secretary. He was just confirmed a few days ago.
And attempting to rescue. Tonight, I spoke with President Trump and his team in the Situation Room. I had a conversation with Secretary Pete Hegseth as well, and then with the Kansas delegation and the mayor and others in leadership, as well as Governor Youngkin from Virginia.
A few hours ago,
Governor
my bad,
Kelly
a few hours ago.
Kansas. From the Department of Transportation and FAA's perspective, we are going to offer full support to those on the ground, to the mayor, but also to the NTSB, who is going to be conducting the investigation in this matter. We are going to provide all the support that's necessary. Mayor.
Thank you. So with that, I want to ask Chief John Donnelly from DC Fire and EMS to provide an update.
Good evening, everyone. I'm John Donnelly, Chief of DC Fire and EMS. This evening at 8:48, an alert was sounded, initiating a large regional response to a report of an aircraft crash on approach to the airport. This response includes first the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority's fire department, the District of Columbia Fire Department, the Metropolitan Police Department, and the U.S. Park Police to respond into the area and to sort that out. At 8:58, the first units arrived on the scene and found an aircraft in the water and began rescue operations. This incident has grown. There's currently about 300 responders working. We have boats from all throughout the region, police and fire boats. We have a mutual aid agreement in Washington, D.C., the National Capital Region Mutual Aid Agreement administered by the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments, and we're all operating under that. We're operating under a unified command. Everybody's together. So we also have requested state police helicopters from Maryland, and the Coast Guard helicopter is working. So this is a state and federal response as well. U.S. Coast Guard's got some boats in the water as well. So it's a highly complex operation. The conditions out there are extremely rough for the responders. It's cold. They're dealing with relatively windy conditions. Wind is hard out on the river. So they're out there working. We're doing everything we can to keep them safe. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to the mayor.
Thank you. In Chief Bonnet from MWA.
I'm Rick Bonnet, Fire Chief of MWA Fire and Rescue. Our unit, as Chief Donnelly already alluded to, at 2048, we received an alert from the FAA tower of an aircraft incident involving a commercial aircraft and a helicopter. Our units immediately responded and deployed 3 boats and immediately called for mutual aid resources. Again, as Chief Donnelly said, it's an active operation that's going to last many hours as we continue to work through recovery efforts and rescue operations. This will be ongoing for quite a while. Our thoughts and prayers are with the families and our communities, and we appreciate all DC's support to our agency and our federal partners.
So with that, I wanted to turn to the senators who are from Kansas who wanted to say a few words. First, Senator Moran, and then Senator Marshall. Senator Moran, and then Senator Marshall.
Mayor, thank you, and Mr. Secretary, thank you, and to our first responders, thank you very much for all that's taking place here. I'm Jerry Moran. I'm a United States Senator.
Audio is all jacked up right now.
And I chair the subcommittee in Commerce Committee on Aviation. So we have really a serious and sad circumstance that we want to be here to be helpful. And we're praying that our responders are safe and the folks who are on that flight are recovered. The circumstance I would describe is that I know that flight. I've flown it many times myself. I lobbied American Airlines to begin having a direct nonstop flight service to DCA. That flight has been in existence about a year.
How many survivors? No reported survivors.
It's certainly true that
none
in Kansas and in Wichita in particular, we're going to know people who are on this flight, know their family members, know somebody. So this is a very personal circumstance as well as an official response. And again, we will do everything we can to make certain that we're supportive of the rescue efforts. And we'll do everything we can to make certain that our subcommittee and Congress is engaged in what needs to take place following the outcome of this evening and this month's kind of investigation. I've talked to NTSB, I've talked to the White House, I've talked to the Department of Defense, and I've talked to the CEO of American Airlines. And there is all of us pulling together for the best outcome possible. I'm honored to be here with my colleague, Senator Marshall, as we try to make certain that we care for those certainly back in Kansas that were on that flight. But it's a reminder that there are people here in Washington, D.C., in this region, in Virginia and Maryland, and many places else that fly to and from Kansas. And so we're rooting and supporting all those, regardless of where you're from. And Mayor, I appreciate the gathering here for us to try to provide information to those in Kansas and across your city. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you, Senator Moran and Mayor, Secretary.
You know, when one person dies, it's a tragedy, but when many, many, many people die, it's an unbearable sorrow. It's a heartbreak beyond measure. And I know Senator Moran and I are here just to say we care. We wish that there was more we could do, but unfortunately there doesn't seem much at this time. I want the folks to back home to just know that we care, that we love them, and that this is a time when we'll have to join arms together and help each other out. We've been through things like this before, through tornadoes and floods and things, but it's really hard when you lose, you know, probably over 60 Kansans simultaneously. And I don't want to forget the pilots and the flight
I wish they would
attendants,
give
you
some
know,
actual
do their
information.
job,
I
and
don't
the
feel like we're getting a
military
lot of
personnel we
information right
lost.
now.
You know, all those lives are so valuable, and it is such a tragedy that we lost him. You know, I think often in times like this, I try to find a scripture that, you know, is apropos, and this is from the book of Psalms. It says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Certainly we're crushed in spirit tonight. We mourn with the families who lost loved ones, and we truly are joining them in prayer and wrapping our arms around them in love and compassion. Thanks for everybody for coming out tonight. Thank you for your thoughts and your prayers.
So certainly I speak for the people of Washington, 700,000 of us who are extremely sorry for the families who are experiencing loss tonight. And so we want you to know that we will continue to work with American Airlines to share information as frequently as possible and make sure that we're getting accurate information out to the public. But my sorrow for all of the people and crew on the plane and our military personnel on the helicopter is very deep. I do want to turn to Jack Potter, who is the CEO of our Airports Authority, responsible for Reagan National Airport and Dulles International Airport, to talk to you about how the airport responded and what we're what's going to happen next.
Good evening. As was said, I'm Jack Potter, President and CEO of the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority. Thank you all for being here tonight and under these very, very grim circumstances. First of all, I want to let you know that we're providing support to all the families who are involved. American Airlines has established a phone number for them to reach out. It's been published, but let me repeat it. It's 1-800-679-8215. So families of folks that were on the plane are asked to contact them. We did have folks who were at the airport to pick up loved ones. And so American has set up a center in their in their lounge at the north end of the airport. And we've directed the families there. And there are folks there counselors there to work with the families. We did have aircraft that were in the air. They were diverted to Dulles Airport, some 19 aircraft. We had personnel, United and others had personnel. We want to thank WMATA for extending their hours on the Metro to make sure that those folks were accommodated. Right now, as was said earlier by the chief, we're in a rescue mode. We will continue in that rescue mode. I want to thank all of the mutual aid responders, all the counties, the district, folks from Maryland and Virginia. Everybody's on site doing the best they can, and numerous boats out in the water right now. NTSB is on site. I want to thank all of the folks behind me, the secretary, the mayor, the two senators for all of their support. And we're going to continue to work through the night. I do want to make an announcement. People are, concerned about what's going to happen in the morning. Reagan National Airport will be closed until 11 o'clock. That's when the first flights will take off. But we're going to continue to do our best and work through this situation over the course of the night. And we hope to have more news as it develops. But for right now, it's a very difficult situation out there with the cold. It's very dark, but there are numerous boats out there. There are dive teams out there. So again, we'll continue to work the situation, and I'll turn it back to the mayor. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that update. And you've heard that in the National Capital Region, the district, of course, is Washington, D.C. is at the center, but we are a close region. We have heard from the governors of Maryland and Virginia, the mayor of the city of Baltimore, all who have sent us personnel to help in the rescue operations. Last thing I'll note is just to our local viewership, and just please let our first responders do their work. Try to let our vehicles get to scenes and through scenes. We don't want anybody else to get hurt because of moving vehicles, okay? So we will be able to take a few questions. There's not a lot that we can say. We won't be able to say anything about an investigation. As you know, once fire and EMS completes the rescue operation, then the investigation goes over to the National Transportation Safety Board. And I'm sure the Safety Board, NTSB, will provide information about when they will be briefing about an investigation. So we'll take a few. Yes.
Can you confirm that both aircraft are in the water, and perhaps Chief Donnelly can explain what's involved in conducting an operation like this?
Yes, both aircraft are in the water. The focus now is rescuing people, and that's what all of our personnel are focused on. And Chief, I think he's given a pretty good description, but if there's anything else you want to add, Chief?
I would just say that the boats are out doing searches. We have divers on both aircraft, and they're searching the aircraft at this point.
Right. Yes.
Have any survivors been found, and how many bodies have been recovered?
All we can confirm tonight is the number of people on each aircraft, 64 people on the American Airlines plane and 3 people on the military helicopter. When we can't provide any more information about recovery efforts.
The 2 people have talked about lost loved ones. So how do you know that there might be people who have lost loved ones?
I didn't say I didn't know people had lost loved ones. I said we can't talk about any of the recovery efforts in specific tonight.
Secretary Duffy,
I'll call on who's next. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Bowser. Will this affect operations at Dulles and BWI? Will the Potomac River traffic be closed to boats?
Yes. And so Jack has talked about, Jackie, can you talk about Dulles? I'm not sure we can talk about BWI, but we can talk about Dulles.
There is no impact at BWI or at Dulles. As I said earlier, our airport here, Ronald Reagan National Airport, will be closed until 11 o'clock. Obviously, that will be fluid. We'll learn more, but we wanted to advise passengers who might be coming to the airport in the morning that we will be closed until at least 11 o'clock.
Secretary Duffy.
Yeah, 1 second. You're next.
Hi, Mayor. Thank you so much. So, just other than the current situations, like we know the water is extremely cold and it's very dark outside. Although Senator is saying that there are numerous boats in the water, but what's the biggest challenges for the rescue team? What best scenario we can expect in the coming few hours till morning?
So the challenges are access. The water that we're operating in is about 8 feet deep. There is wind, there is pieces of ice out there. So it's just dangerous and hard to work in. And because there's not a lot of lights, you're out there searching every square inch of space to see if you can find anybody. Divers are doing the same thing in the water. The water is dark, it is murky, and that is a very tough condition for them to dive in. The question about the river, we'll make that decision later. The Coast Guard's on scene, and I would expect that it's not a high use time in the river, and we should not expect to have commercial recreational traffic on the river tomorrow.
Okay, 3 questions. 1, 2, 3.
It's for Secretary Duffy. Have you been in touch with the air traffic controllers who were in the tower at the time of the crash?
I have not.
You have not. And second question, this is your first several hours in this position. What are your thoughts? What are you feeling right now?
My focus is on
who cares?
Those who are impacted on the flight.
Like what the hell is he supposed to? It's not about him. Shut up.
Again, I've been secretary for A little over a day. And
what a stupid question.
The tragedy that we're going to deal with this recovery, I think is touching everyone's hearts, whether it's here in the greater DC area or in Kansas. And again, I think everyone here is thinking and praying for those who potentially have lost a loved one. And thank you.
Okay, your question? Could any of you give us any sense about how an accident like this could have happened so close to the airport, right in the heart of DC? There have been reports that the DCA tower contacted the helicopter moments before the crash to ask if they had sight of the aircraft, that apparently the helicopter reported that it did have sight of an aircraft. Is it possible that it had the wrong aircraft in sight? Do you have any sense of what went wrong in those final moments?
I know that the National Transportation Safety Board in its investigation will be able to search on all of those questions. We wouldn't be able to talk about that tonight. Yes.
2 points for Secretary Duffy. The first thing, you were talking about when you were in the situation room with the president and Pete Hegseth both being there. Can you tell us more about the president's initial reactions to this, as well as Pete Hegseth, that this was a military helicopter?
So I was not in the situation room. I did have a conversation with the situation room where the president was located, as well as with Secretary Hegseth. We're exchanging information. I would just note that not just the local team, but the federal team has performed very well in this crisis. I know the president is incredibly concerned about what's happened here today. I'm sure we'll continue to hear more from him, and I'll continue to consult with him and Secretary Hegseth.
When it comes to the resources that you would be able to provide on the federal level.
Hey, I can always bring up a retail story, that's for sure.
Absolutely. The president has committed to this team and to the NTSB through the DOT that we will provide all resources necessary as we go through this recovery, but also the support from FAA and DOT as the NTSB investigates.
Mr. Secretary, do we know the condition of these aircraft? Are they whole? Are they split? Are they pieces?
Again, I don't think we can comment on that. Our focus is on getting the passengers and crew out of the water.
And just one more clarification, because earlier we got guidance that DCA was going to shut down at least until Friday at 5 a.m. I just heard 11 a.m. tomorrow. Tomorrow. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. We can take a few more questions. A question here, and here.
Mayor Bowser, can you just confirm, has anybody been transported to the hospital?
I can't say anything.
Why do I feel
about
like
the
she's
rescue
using this to
operation right now.
grandstand? That's what it feels
Who's
like.
next? Yes.
Yeah, Chief Donnelly, can you speak a little bit more about the unified command who leads this phase of the rescue and recovery? At what point do you then change phases? And can you describe to us the scene as best you can when first responders first arrive?
So I happened to be listening to the radio this evening when the call came out. I listened to the responders come in, and the initial response, they were very professional, trying to locate this. This is, if you can imagine, the river is a large black spot.
I have a retail story I can apply this to
except
when it's
for a few
over.
buoy lights. So they were out there looking. The boats pretty quickly were able to locate one of the aircraft and get there. So that's what's going on right now. Everybody's working on that. We will reevaluate where we are with the rescue operation in the morning when we get a better sense of it, but we are still out there working, and we're going to continue that throughout the night.
Do you sense that there are survivors?
We don't know yet, but we're working.
Is any part of the search happening over land?
No, we're all in the water.
Yes. Oh, you got a question. Somebody didn't get a question. Hold on. Yes.
I just wanted to ask, do you have an estimate yet on how long the recovery efforts will take?
So experiences like this we expect to continue our operations in the fire department for multiple days. And then I would expect the investigation goes longer than that.
Okay, you didn't get a question, and you were next, I think.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. My question is, do we have any plan to prevent future
crash or future accident? Do we have any like to reform the authority, the airport control to calm those people who are flying in the next few days?
The fuck are we doing?
So how long the rescue is gonna last? Are we gonna stop rescue after tomorrow 11 a.m.? It's like diversity because they are.
What a fucking stupid question. Do we have plans to prevent this in the future? No, actually, we're trying to make it happen again in the future. Fucking stupid questions. And then you've got this DEI mayor who's just taking this opportunity to not deliver any information. I'll talk about it in a minute.
Yes.
This is for the chief and Secretary Duffy. How do you balance the search and rescue operation with preserving the scene for the investigation that's now underway?
So, from the fire department's point of view, we are always going to put people first. But I don't think that I think our operations, because we have a unified command, we are all working together, and the NTSB is in contact with us, and we will work together to make sure that if there's crucial evidence that it's preserved. And that's something we do every day with our police department on crime scenes and things. So life comes first and everything else is after that.
Okay, last question. Yeah.
Secretary Duffy, I just want to ask, I know it's early, but are there any immediate actions that the FAA should take to prevent helicopters and commercial airplanes from getting too close to one another?
So obviously there'll be a review of what happened here tonight. And after the FAA studies what happened, we will take appropriate action if necessary to modify flight paths and permissions.
Do you have any more details about the helicopter mission with the Black Hawk? And Mayor Bowser, have you heard directly from President Trump?
I spoke with the president's national security advisor, and I have not talked to the president yet. And I do not know what the mission was. So let me close by saying again, thank you to the members of the press.
Can I ask a question? Hi, Mayor. Hey, thank you so much. May I ask you a question? Since you've provided literally no new information, can you please explain to me why it was important to have all of the most important people here to give us no new information while rescue efforts are going on? Wouldn't it make more sense for all of the most important people to be out in the field right now, answering questions and directing people to try and save lives? Wouldn't that make a little more fucking sense? Instead of you doing a dog and pony show with no new fucking information, you could have sent one person out here and said, hi, here are the details that we're willing to release. We have people on the ground. We are trying to operate a search and rescue mission. Things are looking bleak, but we want to make sure if there's at least one life we can save, we need to have the most important people out there. So we're not going to have any further information tonight. We're going to work through the night with leadership, and we're going to try to do our best to hopefully save some lives. Thank you. That's it. The fuck was that all about? That was about her getting in front of the fucking camera and bringing all of the most important people up there. Meanwhile, you got a fucking tragedy right now. But all the most important people have to be here on camera with me so I can show you how important I am. Fuck off. It's just so annoying. So my retail story will apply to that. I will bring this back. I've told this story before. I used to be the overnight manager. So I ran the stock crew. I was the grocery manager. I ran the stock crew. The stock crew are the people that have, 20, 30, 40 pallets of groceries every night. You have to put all this stuff up every night. You have a team of people. One night we got done and everybody went home, but we had left a pallet, like a half pallet out on the floor. Okay. We left a half pallet out on the floor, on the sales floor. We forgot it. We overlooked it. We're supposed to clean up the whole thing. We forgot it. The next day we come in at 11 o'clock at night. The closing manager calls a meeting on the back aisle over where this pallet was. He calls the whole team over there and he goes, I just want to know, do you guys see anything wrong with this? And everyone's looking around and I'm like, oh, I can tell you what's wrong. That pallet that we forgot is still here. And he goes, exactly. And I left it here all day just so I could make an example that this is a safety hazard and it can't be done again. And I'm like, well, I'm going to call that bullshit, because if it was such a safety hazard and it was so dangerous, you wouldn't have left this motherfucker out all day long while customers are shopping. So essentially, you decided to leave a safety hazard on the floor that you actively knew about. We forgot it. Mistake. You are admitting that you knew that you actively left a safety hazard out on the sales floor, waiting all night for us to come in to make an example. That's bullshit. My point being is that you as a leader have to set a fucking tone. If your tone is that all of the most important people are here with me so that I can smile in front of the cameras and flex in front of the cameras and show you how important I am, how does that land? You're supposed to be sending a tone that this is a very, very tragic and crucial situation. If you don't have information to give us right now, then that means that there's still a chance that there could be survivors, because you can't confirm that there are no survivors. So if you can't confirm that there are no fucking survivors, then why the fuck are all the important people standing in front of fucking cameras right now? Get your asses out there and see if you can save somebody. Fuck your DEI bullshit. I'll leave it at that. Pisses me off. And now we have our first official photo of American Airlines flight 5440 or 5342. So this is the first official flight right here, ladies and gentlemen. Damn, look at that. That is horrific. So sad. And so I'm not mad that we didn't get information, to be clear. I'm mad that they pulled every single person out there for a photo op to stand in front of the cameras to tell us that they had no information. I'm not mad that there was no information. I don't expect information necessarily. I'm mad that they made it a dog and pony show when people could still, and I think that we probably assume that no one's going to survive, considering that they did confirm that there was no search being done on land. So all I'm saying is, you're not making the public feel good when you bring all the most important people out there, but you have no answers. If you have no answers, then don't bring everybody out there. Leave them off camera, send the message that we are working diligently through the night. But when you bring everybody up there and you're telling us you have no information, that's a terrible decision, and it's bad leadership. Welcome to DEI. That's DEI for you right there. So that's where we are, ladies and gentlemen.
Personally talked about how they believe that this is such a catastrophic incident that they realize there's going to be so many folks in Kansas that are going to be demanding answers. And they also promised, based on their position of power, that they are going to get to the bottom of it.
All right. So we're not going to get any new information. That's for sure. Okay. Let me read some of these super chats. I have a stream early in the morning that I'm going to be covering. Kash Patel hearing will be tomorrow morning. I'll be covering that. Let's see. Speaking of air concerns, not sure you saw this, but Trump released a statement yesterday saying those drone sightings were FAA approved and also hobbyist for recreational purposes. Effectively, nothing to worry about. I did see that release. Gold, and thank you for the 20. I appreciate it. Golden Age says, what a downer to a fantastic week and a half. 100%. 100%. River Miles says, Jeremy spoke in class today. What's up, man? Coalesce says, now that folks know I voted for Trump, they're subtly poking and prodding at me every time something bad happens. Orange man bad never ends. It never will end. It never will end. What time? I'll probably just set the link up tonight. You know what? I think I can do that. Let me see if I can just raid it. Let's see. Let me see what time. 8:30 a.m. Central is Cash. Woo! 8:30 a.m. You know what? I might as well just set it up now. Let's see. Cash Patel confirmation live. So we'll set it for, I guess set it for 8 a.m. And I'll set it up now to force myself to have to get up and just be here. You know what I mean? So here we go. And 8:30 a.m. Is that for today? Boom. All right, it's set up. Link is set up. So I'll get a few hours of sleep tonight. But yes, welcome to the club, Coalee. That's going to happen. We're not even out of January yet. Nope, it's things are going to be crazy for a while. FMJHP with 5 gifted memberships. Thank you. I appreciate it. Shang Long says, many of the aviation experts on the news don't know what they're talking about, specifically how the TCAS works, DCA circling procedures. Let's see, UHF and VHF and UHF. Air traffic control comms and NVG systems. Yeah, I mean, they're probably just ringing up anybody they can to get on and talk on the news, you know, to make it sound like they know what they're talking about. Let's see. What? You're a gay man, but I'm cool with it, bro. I still love you on Friday night. What? Bro. No. What? Jeremy Cyborg says they train as they fly. If they might have to fly dark in areas or other aircraft flying around them, then they have to train that way. Yeah, but near a very, very, very busy airport, I don't know, man. It doesn't make sense. Doug B says I got that one. We get more useful information from Jeremy talking about his retail days. You're the reason I decided with the retail story. Doug B says there's nothing but a look how good I was to be here news conference. No new information. None. Warren Smith says that reporter's question won her a prize. IDOT of the day. What happened to proper Jeremy? You mean like the character that I had or the actual real person that created the persona? Occasionally I'll still do the proper Jeremy thing, but Justin Proper is who he had the proper Jeremy name. Doug B says, dude, that piece of DEI garbage mayor was bleeping smiling while calling on reporters. Meanwhile, probably 67 people no longer living in her city. Disgusting. Very disgusting. And that is DEI in a nutshell right there. Unfortunately. Sad but true. Where are we at? Last midair in U.S. was March 2023. Really? March 2023? Was it with a major airline? Study nights with Joseph. Safe to say Black Hawk failed their training. Sad but true. Pragmaticon says, we lost another F-35 fighter in, I don't know how to say that one, Air Force Base in Alaska yesterday. Also, pilot ejected. Oh, I did see that. I saw the reports of that. If their lights are off, it's usually NVG training. Grant Potato says there's a stealth variant of the Black Hawk. Solar Felix says DEI can unfortunately die. Let's see. Pragmaticon says many military aircraft have lights on them, not visible to the naked eye. Worked on F-16 for 6 years. Bruce says check DMs, dash cam footage as well. I think I saw that one earlier. I think. So what Civilized says, for those asking, let's see, TCAS resolutions advisors are disabled below 1,000 feet. If the Black Hawk set their transponder wrong, the CRJ had no chance. Jim Marshall says raw alerts posted what looks like the air traffic control radar image. Pretty interesting to see the plane basically come down on top of the copter. Babo Yogi says, how did Newsmax get you to take your hat off? Was there like a bald guy on there? Jimmy Ray says, check the flight path for PAT-25. The origin doesn't align with their story. Eric James says, I believe this was an accident. Air traffic control messed up. I lived near a base, and Black Hawks fly in that formation daily. PJs train in the river at night. Let me see here. Gremlin over on Rumble says, Jeremy, you have to watch Alex Jones' Metal remix. It's only 2 minutes long and a banger. You can find it on PooTube. What? Just me and you will add it to the intro. Just at you? Is that what you mean? I'll have to check that one out. Let's see here. Watch Collision in slow-mo. It's a massive explosion. Just stream now until Kash Patel hearing is finished. I need a little bit of sleep, just a little bit. Ooh, I'm gonna be struggling tomorrow morning. Clint says this would be like having a tank cross a civilian highway full of cars at night with no lights. All the people are saying this is normal are lying. Aaron, I don't know if a lot of people are lying as much as just like they're maybe don't know. Aaron James says air traffic control error. Pilots rely on air traffic control. Air traffic control error. Most aviation accidents happen under VFR or visual flight rules on your clear days with unlimited visibility and no clouds. Who was on the plane and what did they know? Guy sounded like a drunk Sean Hannity. Sir Ruin of House Roundhead says, I'm leaving DC. I was far away from where the crash happened. This is wild. I have been to Reagan Airport many times. MC Martin says, I Googled one of the article names. CNN didn't post it 7 hours ago, so no, the post isn't true. I didn't think so, but I wanted to let you guys know the discussion was going on. Grant Potato says, where there goes my plans to get Jeremy to fly. Yeah, I'm not flying. That performer says, runway 33 was their target. It's an attack. Masonic symbolism everywhere. Plane attempted to avoid helicopter banking hard. Scarfy the Strange says, I sent Biden off on his first helicopter lesson, so what I miss? Yeah. Storm Shadow says, kamikaze if hello filled with pissed transformers. Victor says, Lord, watch over the rescue teams and guide those beautiful souls on their way to you. Prayers to everyone affected. Beastie Man says, can't believe that DEI biatch been mayor since I was in my last year of elementary, which was a decade ago. Let that sink in. Holy crap. Term limits, we need them. Builders says, I swear to fuck, if they blame this on Iran, I'm going to shit. And then Dawn becomes a monthly supporter over on Rumble. I appreciate it. And we're gonna call it there, ladies and gentlemen. So this, I will raid tomorrow's stream, so you guys can go over there, and if you want to hang out all night and and wait, that's fine with me. I'm gonna get a little bit of sleep. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for asking me to go live. I appreciate it. I'm still the type of person that I'm like, do people really want me to go live? So yeah, you literally, one person can make the difference. If one person, like if I'm in another stream and you're like, hey, go live, you could literally make the difference of me going live or not going live. I still think I'm a fucking retard that has no business being on the internet and having thousands of people watch me. So I'm humbled and I'm thankful whenever it does happen. So thank you guys for giving a damn about anything I have to say. Or maybe you watch me because I'm such an idiot. I make you feel better about your own life. Either way, I appreciate you being here. So thank you so much. Have a good night, and I'll see you guys in a few hours for the Kash Patel hearing tomorrow morning. Gonna be a wild one. Talk to all of you later. Bye, everyone.